my speech is on New York, and I just want to start out by asking questions. Has anybody been to like, not New York City, but this like upstate part of New York? Okay, have you also been to the city? You know, like, so you know the differences and everything. And that's what this is going to really be about. So New York State has obviously two sides. There's the city and then upstate, and this is where I'm from. So I've never been. My first trip to New York City was actually last week, and it was not what I was expecting at all. And upstate New York has mostly hills and mountains, and there's, in the town that I grew up in, in the 2013 census, there was only 668 people, which is not even a fraction of what's in New York City.
Right.
There was only one four-way stop in the entire town, and still to this day there is only one. And I don't even know if that's like a popular road there. Visitors, I put a question mark because there aren't really visitors that would go to that town. I mean, there's nothing special there. There's some cornfields, if you're happy about that. But and then there's only one restaurant in the entire town, and the lady has owned that restaurant since I don't even know how long she's had it. She's like 90 years old and can barely walk, but still owns this restaurant and does everything by herself. And then there's only one gas station, and actually it was built in like 2014 because there was a bunch of people complaining that they had to go all the way to Canandaigua, which is like a 20-minute drive just to get gas. So they finally built one, and everyone knows each other. Whenever we were in New York City, I felt like nobody cared. They didn't care if you were on your way somewhere important or just walking the streets. They would not get out of your way. There's no public transportation. I've never seen a bus besides a school bus go through that town. I've never seen a taxi. I've never seen anything of that sort. Jesus. There's trees everywhere. I mean, half of the town is woods. And then you can walk the whole town in a couple of hours. Like I said, there's only one four-way stop in the entire town. It's literally in the valley of a hill, and you go from halfway up the hill on one side to halfway up the hill on the other side, and that's the entire town. And the nearest grocery store, like I said, is like 20 minutes away in Canandaigua. There's no room for a grocery store in the town. It's too small, and that was really inconvenient as a kid because your mom would be like, okay, let's go to the grocery store, and an hour later you're coming back home. And now you can go to the grocery store and it's like 2 minutes down the road or right across 98 and be back in like 30 minutes. And I went to school, and although school was like 5 minutes away, it was still in another town. And the high school that I would have went to if I would have stayed there was in a completely other town on the other side of our town. So we had no schools. We had to go other places, and there was 3 surrounding towns that all went to these same schools. And then New York City, instead of hills and mountains, there's buildings and skyscrapers. Standing under the Empire State Building was pretty cool, I guess, but scary at the same time because you look up and you can't see the top. There's millions of people that live there. Like I said, the streets are always busy and they do not care about you at all. There are many four-way stops. Although there's a lot of one-way streets, there's a lot of four-way stops and a lot of roads. And visitors, in 2013, I think, this is where that number came from. On average, for the past 10 years before, they had about 54.3 million visitors a year, which is pretty crazy to think of. There's restaurants on every corner. I think when we were there, we ate at a different one every time, except for one. We ate breakfast at the same place every day, and it was really good. But this number was kind of surprising to me. There's 39 gas stations in Manhattan, and I saw not one whenever I was there. That's one thing that we were like, there's no speed limit signs and there's no gas stations. 2 things that I noticed whenever I was there. You never see the same faces. We walked around for 5 days, and we even went to Madison Square Garden for a wrestling tournament that was there. And I never saw the same person, unless they were sitting next to us in the seats watching the wrestling. It would take weeks to see the entire city. Like I said, we were there for 5 days, and we had about 10 hours a day where we would be able to just go and walk around and see stuff. and I did not even see a fraction of it. The last day we were there, our plane took off at 5:30, so we went to see Ground Zero, and that was the furthest that we went outside of downtown Manhattan. There are stores everywhere, literally everywhere. There's stores on top of stores, literally. There's a Macy's, it's like 6 stories. The Kmart there is like 10 stories, which I didn't even know the Kmart was still a thing. And then I didn't notice a single school. I noticed 2 colleges, but like high school, elementary, I didn't notice a single one. So I'm guessing that they're like the stores, they're on the second floors of buildings, or maybe even higher than that. And then some fun facts about New York. In New York City, it has 722 miles of subway track, which is very easy to get lost in. The first day we were there, we got off the plane and we were asking someone where to go, and there was a firefighter that told us where to go, and we thought we had it right on. We ended up about, I don't know, like 30 minutes away from our hotel because we thought that we were going the right way, and not at all. In Oneida, New York, there is the world's smallest church. It was built in 1989, and there's only 2 people that can fit in it. I don't understand the point of it, but there's only 2 people that can fit, and it's a real thing. In Horseheads is the first and only village in the United States dedicated to the service of the American military horse. My grandpa lives like 2 minutes away from Horseheads, and there is a very famous military plane museum, and they have like hundreds. If you've ever been off County Line Road and seen like the Amazon warehouse, it's almost a warehouse that big and nothing but planes. It's pretty cool. Buffalo chicken wings were originated in Buffalo, New York at the Anchor Bar, and it's kind of funny how that they came about. The family that owned the bar ordered chicken breasts, and they ended up getting the chicken wings, and they didn't know what to do with them, so the lady that was the actual cook made up a sauce and put it on the wings and served it, and it became a hit. Toilet paper was invented in New York City.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, but I thought that'd be cool to put on there. And then in 1780, the winter was so cold that the harbor froze over. People were able to walk from Manhattan to Staten Island. And that's crazy to think of because the water is salt water and it takes more to freeze. So it had to be pretty cold. And that's my speech.